Hey there, this is Jeff from jeffmobile.com, and I'm just going to do a quick blog post about the future of mobile phone technology. Because I think right now what we're seeing in terms of mobile phones is that there's going to be a convergence of technologies, pretty much. We've got the Apple platform, which is immensely popular, but it's essentially a closed platform. So I don't think it has the real big potential for future growth as the Android platform, which is an open platform and it's quickly being adopted by many major manufacturers. And the quality of the mobile phone experience in the Android is largely dependent on the software, Android software, and the hardware is really secondary. And so I'm thinking this is very similar to what we saw in, say, the 90s and late 80s with consolidation towards like a Microsoft Windows or DOS-based PC platform. The hardware itself is pretty much, doesn't really matter. You can get some hardware that's better than others, but it doesn't really matter. It all runs the same software. And it really comes down to the applications and the ecosystem, all the developers who write programs for the platform. That's where I think like Nokia, based on Symbian, they recently announced that Symbian is a burning platform in a recent email to their staff by their CEO. So I think they've realized that Symbian as a platform is not that great. Maybe they're going to start using Android on their Nokia hardware, or they'll partner with Microsoft and use Microsoft Windows Mobile. But I think as a consumer, I'm most interested in buying an Android device because right now they're open. I can run whatever software I want on them. And I know that if I get an Android phone, as long as the hardware is pretty basic, as long as it runs Android OS, I know I'm going to have a pretty good experience. I know for my Android phone, I've got a nice little hardware keyboard. That's even better. So I'm going to always look out for a phone that has a hardware keyboard. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty much going to stick with Android, and there's no real reason for me to switch to another platform unless there's a real compelling reason. But I think as the momentum builds, as more people get onto Android, there'll be more apps available and there'll be more choice. Another interesting thing about Android is that it's following Google's sort of advertising-supported policy, or advertising-supported model. So most apps on Android are free, and app developers are getting paid through advertisements, which are at the bottom of the screen on the app. I think this is a really powerful thing. I think people are getting really used to getting apps for free on the Android, and they're not going to be willing to pay for apps. This signals a major shift away from maybe Apple iPhone users who are used to shelling out $2 for an app or $2. Whereas Android users, I can get pretty much all the same apps with just a little bit of advertising at the bottom for free. So I think, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to stick with Android. And I think, as we see, Android still is growing to be the #2 platform of smartphones in the world, behind Nokia. But Nokia is losing market share rapidly. In last year, they lost like 8% market share. Android's gained. iPhone is not really growing that much anymore. It's kind of saturated market, and they're not really doing much innovation anymore. And Steve Jobs' health is also unfortunately not very good. So I think in terms of mobile technologies, we can really see Android as becoming the leader and really the focus to the developer technology in the future too. As a Java developer, a person who writes programs on computers using Java, I find Android a really great platform because their API, or Applications Programming Interface, it's all written in Java. All the applications are written in Java. It compiles into something called an APK file instead of a jar file. But basically, you can still use all the same development tools and language that you would use to develop Java applications on the PC. So I think, as a developer, I also really like the Android platform. I don't like particularly the Apple iPhone because you have to learn this language called Objective-C, which is I find kind of cryptic, and I haven't spent the time to learn it. So I'm going to be learning a new platform. It's going to be Android. So yeah, this video is just to convey my enthusiasm for the Android cell phone. And if you haven't already, maybe decide for your next cell phone to pick up Android hardware. I really wish that Nokia would make their Nokia N8 phone run Android because the camera and microphone on that phone are pretty much ideal for video blogging like this. This blog I'm doing right now is done on a pretty cheap, like a sub $200 Android phone made by Alcatel running Android 2.1 on the Wind Mobile network. And another interesting development regarding to Wind Mobile, in Canada there's currently I think 35 or 45 days left before Wind Mobile might go out of business. So I'm really hoping Wind Mobile will stay in business because I really like their service, and I guess the next best thing would be to try to unlock my phone and go over to Moblicity. But if you're following the latest mobile news in Canada, there was a court decision that basically struck down Global Live's ability to operate in Canada. Luckily, they have a 30 or 45-day stay in the proceedings. But I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing maybe some changes in the Canadian telecom landscape, allowing foreign competitors to enter the market. That would really be great for consumers of mobile phones, but maybe not so great for the big three players, Bell, Telus, and Rogers in Canada. Anyways, that's the next from Jeff Peters. Hope you have a nice day. Check back on jeffmobile.com. I'm going to be still continuing to experiment with this great medium of mobile technology, mobile blogging, and bringing you some more interesting content, hopefully over the next coming months. Okay, that's all for now. Have a great day. I'll talk to you later. Bye.